ultimate updated Gearhub guide for progressing through every single Gearhub tier, covering what guns you want to buy as a priority, as well as some suggested buys along the way to get your stars nice and quick and progress on towards up to Gearhub tier 7, where the big men, Surge and Eclipse, are awaiting your A-coins. Going to cover mechs and guns for each of these Gearhub tiers. If you feel like you disagree with any of the priority picks that I happen to select in this video, go ahead and plop any disagreements down below in the comments, and I'm sure that it will help newer players out as well. I'm also not going to bother covering Gearhub tier 1 because, frankly,
this isn't technically a tier
Gearhub tier 1 and Gearhub tier 2 are like...
This isn't... It's more of his attempt to make his own version of like my Gearhub guide.
Just buy stuff that doesn't cost you A-coins, right? So you want to like avoid the likes of Puma, for example. Just buy anything that costs you credits to get the stars you need to get to Gearhub tier 3, right?
Yeah, he's essentially saying like tier 1 and tier 2 don't really matter, and yeah, I agree. You could buy all of the A-coin things in tier 1 and 2. It doesn't matter, dude. You're still going to have, like, it costs literally nothing.
So we'll go ahead and touch on Gearhub tier 2, but Gearhub tier 1, yeah, I'm not going to take any time. Given that you kind of rank up away from all of the Gearhub tier 1 guns in about 15 minutes. Okay, so starting straight away, man, with Gearhub tier 2, where the only two mechs that you're really interested in picking on up are going to be Slingshot and are going to be MD.
Not
Neither
true.
of these mechs are going to get massive long-term use on your account.
Let's see. Maybe you mentioned it.
Though Slingshot will last you a little bit longer, of course, than MD. Given that Slingshot being a nice speedy mech is good to use alongside the
Juggernaut. Yeah, you're right. I'm waiting for him to mention Juggernaut.
Keeping your opponents in like an optimal range and taking advantage of that high.
He has a mech tier list, I think. You might be right, but it's probably pretty old, and it's one that I maybe have already seen. This is a relatively new one. This is like 5 days ago. So I'm kind of interested in seeing this.
High mobility is, yeah,
you can
an easy way to get some value out of Slingy until you get like a better mech for use.
Should have said Juggernaut. It's a 5 A-coin profit. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see if he actually mentions Juggernaut. Because you absolutely should get it. It costs 45 and it'll give you 50.
For your missile platforms.
Task.
Going on into...
nah, he doesn't mention it at all. Yeah, Juggernaut's a good one to get if you're a new player.
Weapons. Again, there are no real high priority guns here for you to pick up, to be honest, in Gearhub tier 2, apart from just buy the plasma
Lancer's
cannons.
Pretty good in mid-game,
because you might as well. They cost you credits and skip up.
Yeah, true. But he's not really talking about upgrades, I guess. We'll see what he says later on. I don't want to make assumptions. Just because he doesn't say something right now doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to say it later. There's been, multiple occasions where it's like, I don't think about something until a little bit later. But yeah, Lancer is one that's like, honestly, it's a decent one to just like keep upgrading while you're progressing. Fun fact, I am actually, the thing that I did with Lancer, or the thing that I suggest people do with Lancer, which is like slowly rank it up while you're progressing. I'm doing that with my Lancer on my budget account. And I'll be buying a bunch of legendary mechs and stuff, but it'll take some time. And I think having a decently ranked Lancer is actually going to be really, really helpful. Until I manage to get a full hanger of legendary mechs. And it's also something to put mods on, right? Because like you don't have access to mods until you get relatively high level.
Out on the pulse cannon, it costs you A-coins. A-coins, of course, are a much more premium resource in this game. RPG, thermal lens, buy these if you absolutely have to get you over the line. The shotguns are nice and economical because they give you 2 stars each, being an uncommon gun. Same thing with the long arm being also pretty good to grab.
Really
and the javelin rack falls for use on your slingshot. Now, before we move on to Gearhub tier 3, if you are looking to start off a new mech arena account, you might
don't care,
the maximum
don't
amount
care,
of free roll through these Gearhub tiers as well.
Crazy.
And so moving on to Gearhub tier 3, we're going to start off with the mechs. I'd actually recommend picking up the Guardian.
Let me just do that so you guys can see.
I feel like the system crash skill on Guardian is good enough and gets you enough long-term value that you can justify picking this one up as you progress. It will set you back A-coins, but you're probably going to be using it for a while anyway. I think that it's fine to spend a little bit of A-coin action here on your Guardian, even if you're going to be saving it for other stuff. Shadow, you probably want to go ahead and skip on. Ares, going to cost you credits. Nice and easy choice to go ahead and pick up the Ares. It's going to be pretty decent when you first buy it as well, but will fall off pretty quickly. As for guns, your priority buy are more than likely going to be Ember Guns. That is to say, the Ember Gun 6 and the Javelin Rack 6. However, that again, a lot of guns here that you can buy for
Javelin
credits
6?
just to
Isn't
get you
Javelin
up to
6
Gearhub Tier
acorns?
4 a little bit faster. You need 24 stars in total at this point to go from Gearhub Tier 3 up to Gearhub Tier 4. For me, I'd be going for the Pulse Cannon 8. You can actually skip on the Pulse Cannon 6, I believe. This is my free-to-play account where apparently I did buy it on the way, but I don't think you actually need to buy that sucker. You can go.
You buy Pulse Cannon 6 just because it's easier tier stars. I think it's actually cheaper than Pulse Cannon 8. So, and you're not going to use either one. Both of them are really, really bad. Like, at no stage of the game is it optimal to use. Like, there's no point where it's like, yeah, this is where Pulse Cannon does really well. Like, it just doesn't exist. Nobody uses Pulse Cannon pretty much ever. And if they do, it doesn't perform well. But you get the 8 and the 6 for credits, which is probably better than Javelin Rack 6, to be honest.
Go ahead and buy the Missile Rack 6s. The Missile Rack 6s, though, are skippable. You can actually choose between these and the Cryo Launcher 6s. To be honest,
Yeah,
if I could
fair.
go back and do it again, I'd probably get the Cryo Launcher 6s instead. I think I ended up getting the Cryo Launcher 6s anyway, as well.
Cryo 6 is a better one because you can get the Cryo 10 later on. You could use the 6 and 10 build. Missile Rack 6, you can't do that. All the other Missile Racks cost 8 coins.
As the Missile Rack 6s. Ember Gun 6s are going to be down in the close quarters weapons. These, for me, are one of the priority buys to grab. They're great on your Guardian, they're great on your Ares mech, and they're going to be solid for a reasonable amount of time on your account, at least. Very, very cheap to get.
Until you
Fragment
get
Guns are
Revoker,
also
yeah.
very, very cheap and require only credits, so I would just skip completely on the Actoran 6 to save the credits on those. You shouldn't need it
terrible.
to advance. And Actorans are bloody awful, in my
Yes.
estimation. Long Arm 10 is going to be nice and cheap as well for you to grab, and then we scroll on down.
I think a Long Arm 10 is 8 coins, but it's like
And you can
12
spend a
8 coins,
tiny
dude.
amount of air coins as well, ranking up your Slingshot to make your Slingshot a 12 energy mech, and then you can use 2 Javelin Rack 6s on your Slingshot for a little while.
I would not necessarily recommend that, but at the same time, I don't... It could work. It could be good.
It's
Long Arm
extremely
10
cheap
is credits?
to rank up your Slingshot
okay.
up to 3
It
stars
must be the
after
12 I'm
all.
thinking of.
So that's a good little weapon combo that you can use for a little while as you progress into Gearhub Tier 4, and thus it is back to the mechs. Once again, you're going to need a total of 24 stars to ascend from Gearhub Tier 4 up to Gearhub Tier 5, and the reason we're trying to maximize efficiency and get through the gear
Finals
tiers,
has insane
the
graphics.
Gearhub
You'll watch me play the games. I know some people will. Yeah, some people will. But I think the majority won't.
tiers rather quickly and smoothly, by the way, is to get to Gearhub Tier 7 as quickly as possible, so you can just buy Eclipse and buy Surge on your account as quickly as possible with those air coins, and so that's why we're focusing on efficiency here. By all means, if you want to kind of languish and chill in the Gearhub tier for a little while on your account and splurge on mechs that you maybe don't really need right now, but you want to go ahead and grab them like I did with the Stalker right here, then you can go ahead and do that. I did buy this mech on my free-to-play account. It does cost 8 coins. Probably wasn't necessary, but, you know. Tengu is...
He's correct. Like, you could, if you want to, you could just, like, spend a little bit extra on some of the rare stuff. What I would say is I would spend a little bit extra on some of the epic stuff. Because the epics in tier 5 and 6 is where you're going to be stuck for the majority of the time. Before you get to Surge and Eclipse to tier 7, right? Before you get there, the majority of your time is going to be spent in tier 5 and 6. So you do want to kind of make sure that you have a decent epic mech lineup, or just a decent mech and weapon lineup worked out. So you'll spend a little bit more than you necessarily need to. Probably especially in tier 5 because it has multiple really solid weapons like Overdrive or Podgun, Railgun. So, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily spend extra in tier 4 because tier 4, I mean, it's just rare. It's just rare mechs, right?
Always a free mech that you get
You'll
after
get an
just playing
epic
the
one.
game for
You'll get
30
epic
days,
mechs
so
in
that's pretty good.
very next
Making the
tier
only
as
mech that
well.
you really want to buy for Gearhub progression in this tier, Arachnos, except you also get Arachnos for free as well from a Derby event. So you don't even have to spend a penny for Arachnos either, as long as you do that.
Some people
Derby
don't
event.
get Arachnos in Derby
and
event.
so,
Some people
yeah,
get kill
makes that
sense,
Gearhub tier for mechs very, very
in
simple.
which case, Arachnos is probably... It's just credits. Arachnos just costs credits if you don't get it from the Derby. Is it worth getting? Maybe. I don't know. There might be another credit-based item in there that would be more worth getting. A credit-based rare item. If not, then yeah, probably it is. Darby. Yeah, Darby. Arachnos OP Trust, I believe you. But here's the thing, you don't want to go too meta, otherwise people won't like you.
Now, Gearhub tier for,
You never got the kill shot derby? Yeah,
guns.
same.
Recommendations on what to prioritize.
Thankfully,
For me,
I wouldn't
it's
complete it
all
if I did.
about, if I zoom out a little bit, the good old Helix Rack 8s, which if we scroll all the way on down, the Helix Rack 8s are a great guided missile type weapon that is just straight upgrade to the Javelin Racks, and these only cost credits as well in this Gearhub tier. Very, very nice. They do also combo very, very nicely with the Stalker mech if you do want to spend the very, very great.
Hold on. I want to...
The good old Helix Racks on what to prioritize. Now, Gearhub tier for guns. Recommendations on what to prioritize. For me, it's all about, if I just zoom out a little bit, the good old Helix Rack.
Helix Rack priority, absolutely not. The minute you get into tier 5, I think Helix Rack falls off really quick. At least the low energy Helix 8s. Like, yeah, maybe if you put it on Stalker, it could be okay, but otherwise, no, dude. You should be going immediately for, I'd say Storm Rack 6. Not even Revoker, because, like, what do you have that's going to be good with Revoker? Kind of nothing. Until you get to tier 5, then you get Zephyr. Zephyr then is really good with Revoker. And you can get Revoker... getting Revoker while you're in tier 4 is a good idea, but it shouldn't be, like, your top priority, because you don't really have any great mechs for it. Storm Rack is, I think, the best thing to go for. I think... Because there's multiple... There's multiple areas of it where it's like... You either prioritize the stuff that's a bit cheaper and slightly better, or you prioritize the stuff that's a lot more expensive and a lot better. I'd say probably getting the more expensive stuff first is a better idea, to be honest.
8s, which if we scroll all the way on down, the Helix Rack 8s are a great guided missile type weapon that is just straight upgrade to the Javelin Racks, and
Repeater
these
is
cost
good,
credits
kinda.
as well.
At this SP, yeah, it would be. The problem with Repeater is that it doesn't have any long-term viability, so it's like, even though... The same thing with, like, Savant. Savant's actually solid. In fact, he's saying, like, you know, Helix Rack on Stalker. I'd actually say, like, if you want to get Savant 6 for Stalker, that's maybe even a better idea. Because Savant at that SP is going to be crazy. Yeah, it's the 6 instead of the 8, but then you wouldn't even have to upgrade your Stalker either. But, I mean, in terms of 6, I mean, in terms of legendary weapons, Savant's not really a priority. Because, again, it's like Repeater, and it's like, I don't know, maybe not Chain Gun, but Repeater especially. It can be solid, but it's not. As soon as multi-layered mods become involved, it's just completely crap. And that's the reason that Orion is the only good mech for Railgun, right? Otherwise, it's like, you know, 600 plus 1,000 credits. I think Repeater 6 is like 700,000. 700,000 credits for a weapon that lasts you for like a couple weeks is not very good. Never got why Zephyr Revoker is good. Zephyr needs fast kill to survive, because Revoker kills insanely fast. It's got ridiculous DPS. Well, and also because, well, let me explain. So, especially for free-to-play players, what mechs do you have that are good with close quarters weapons? Like, besides Zephyr, what would work well with a close quarters weapon? Freaking Guardian? No. When it comes to especially free-to-play players, one of the major issues that they have is that there are other people who aren't free-to-play that have better stuff than they do. And so at that point, you want to minimize the amount of in-your-face brawling that you're doing. Don't want to do that at all. In fact, in my main hangar, this isn't my main hangar. It is a hangar, though. My main hangar has Graviton Panther and Podgun Aegis. But my main hangar for this account, 0 brawler builds. 0 brawler builds, because anyone who spends $5 can outbrawl you every time. And it's not even close. It's extremely easy. So at that point, what are you doing? You need, because Revoker's really strong, what do you use it on? You have to use it on something that's able to get free damage. Zephyr gets free damage. Nothing else can do that. Zephyr's the first and only good Revoker mech until you get to Surgery Eclipse. Not Killshot, not Slingshot. Just because those are dash mechs doesn't, like, they can get in close easily, but they're not going to survive. They're going to immediately die. They're not going to be effective with it. But if you use Revoker Zephyr, the way that I use it specifically, I don't use it as a brawler either. Revoker's a brawler. It's a brawler weapon, or it's capable of being a really good brawler weapon. But the way that I use it is specifically as a counter to like nomads. Zephyr is a really good counter to nomad, and also seeker. It very hard counters a lot of things that you'd otherwise have massive problems with.
This Gearhub tier, very, very nice. They do also combo very, very nicely with the Stalker mech if you do want to spend the A coins and grab in the Stalker mech as well.
I think the 16s are credit. Well, the 16 and the 8 are both credits.
I find that these things work very, very nice with the Stalker. But you can also slam them on your Arachnos as well. The Arachnos will arrive with 16 energy, and so it can be a missile platform for these Helix tracks as well when you first get the Araki. Another weapon that I would go ahead and prioritize is... where the hell is it actually? Back up towards missiles. Where's the Storm Racks, man? There it is, man. Good old Storm Rack 6s. I'd go ahead and save the credits for these, personally. Might take a little bit of grinding in this Gearhub tier to do this, and if you want to progress very, very efficiently, you might just not want to bother and go ahead and spend the credits on something like the Voltaic, just to get the stars to get you up to Gearhub tier 5 instead of the Storm Rack. That's fine if all you care about is progressing to the Gearhub tiers quickly, but the Storm Rack 6 is one of those guns that you're going to get good use out of.
If you want to progress through the tiers quickly, you need to also be able to win battles in order to get resources, and you're not going to win. Right, well, you'll win more often if you get decent weapons along the way.
Very, very quickly on your account, and it's a very, very powerful weapon indeed. And so for me, Helixes and Storm Rack 6s is what I would prioritize grabbing while in Gearhub tier 4. As for other guns that are worth buying, it's typically going to be whatever rare guns show up that you can buy for credits.
No Revoker 6, that's interesting.
Are a great buy. The Stasis Beam 8 you can get for...
Revoker 6 is an absolute must-have weapon, same as Storm Rack 6. You're going to want to, like tier 5 and tier 6, you're going to want to use, well, when you get to tier 6, I should say. When you get the 10s, you're going to want to use a 10 and 6 on whatever build, right? So Revoker 10 and 6, Storm Rack 10 and 6. Those are really, really good builds to have. So it's more efficient to get them earlier rather than to get get whatever rare thing, right? So what he's talking about is essentially, instead of buying Revoker 6, because you don't really have any great mech for it at the moment, you just buy rare stuff, get into tier 5 faster, but then you have to go back and buy Revoker 6 anyway, so it's actually less efficient in terms of efficiency. And if he's talking in terms of performance, it's also less effective in terms of performance. Because Revoker 6 is, even though you don't have great mechs for it, it's still going to be way better than like Fragment Gun 8, for example.
Free again in a Derby event, on like an early game account.
Yes,
otherwise they're not worth getting.
If you can get it for free, then get it for free.
3 stars towards progressing your Gearhub right there as well. Yeah, honestly, the Ember Gun 8s are very, very affordable too, by the way. So if you do want to skip on the Storm Racks, after the Epic Gun cost discount, these Ember Gun 8s are really quite cheap to go ahead and buy. So again, if you want to delay getting the Storm Racks and just progress through.
Again, he's talking about this as if it's like actually relatively efficient or cost effective, or you'll get to X tier faster if you skip this stuff. No, because it's stuff that you're going to have to buy anyways. You're actually wasting more credits by buying other stuff first. And especially the Ember Guns are, ever since the Epic repricing, dude, everybody's been way mega over-investing in Ember Gun. I don't know what is up with it, but people have been going crazy with Ember Gun. It's decent, but it's no replacement for Revoker. Not even close. If I could put Ember Gun 8s, I have Ember Gun 8s, right? And I've had them for a while. And I could put them on my Zephyr instead of Revoker 6 and 10. It would be pretty much useless. Like, the difference between Revoker Zephyr and Ember Gun Zephyr is so huge. The Ember Gun Zephyr is basically pointless. It's basically useless at the SP that I'm at.
Your Gearhub tiers, you can go ahead and
do that.
While the Revokers are amazing, and you can buy the Revoker 6s for credits in this Gearhub tier, by the time you're here on your account, you're not going to have any good mechs to actually use the Revokers with. You don't have a Sage, you don't have a Zephyr yet. Could go ahead and slam them on an Ares, I suppose. Could be okay in like free-for-all tournaments.
This is the exact same thing that I said. You don't have great mechs for Revoker when you're in tier 4. But in terms of raw efficiency, you may as well get it, because it's better than, Ember Gun. You're not going to have any great mechs for close quarters, but it's still better. It's still a better close quarters weapon out of everything, right? He's talking about getting Ember Gun 8 instead. In terms of raw efficiency, if you're going to go back and get it anyway, you may as well spend the credits to get the tier stars while you're there. Otherwise, you're spending more than you otherwise would.
And stuff like that. But beyond that,
Wire Revoker's good. So it deals 1 tick of damage going in, 2 ticks of damage going out. That's 3 ticks of damage, 3 times what it shows on the base stats. And also it has 0 reload time. Zero reload time. Not Ember Gun has a 1.5 second reload time, really quick. Revoker, 0 reload time. It is the top most meta weapon in the game. It has about 3 times the DPS of minigun up close.
Probably not the most worth to grab right now. The guns that we've covered so far, that should already get you very, very close towards progressing. You can also scroll all the way down to the bottom and just grab the Rocket Mortar 10s right here for very, very cheap, 23,000 credits.
I think I
to get you an extra 3 stars if that's what
fair.
it takes to get you over the line into Gearhub Tier 5. And also, of course, don't forget that if you start with the promo link down below at the top of the description box, you'll be getting the Cryo Launcher 8s completely for free as well, and that will make progressing through this Gearhub tier even easier. All that being said, that drives us on now to Gearhub Tier 5, and this is the point of the video where I mentioned that the further up in Gearhub tiers that you go, the more like good options of guns that you've got in like Tier 5 and Tier 6 in particular, I feel, and so...
Not really.
It's
5, I think, is kind of where it caps. Tier 6, you get the 10 energy legendary weapons, and those kind of cost a lot to duplicate and stuff. And there's only a couple of them, too. It's like Stormwreck, Revoker, maybe Podgun and Overdriver. Tier 5, you got Podgun and Overdriver and Viper and Railgun. And... maybe it's about the same number. Tier 7, stupidly expensive. There's only 1 credit-based legendary weapon, and that is... for 12 energy, and that's Disruptor.
It starts to matter less and less about what you want to buy in order to be maximally efficient from this point on. Alas, starting off with the mechs, in this Gearhub tier, we have access to Redeemer, Aegis...
I am not sure 100% what he meant by that, so I want to...
And so, it starts to matter Tier 5 and Tier go, the more like good options of guns that you've got in like Tier 5 and Tier 6 in particular, I feel. And so it starts to matter less and less about what you want to buy in order to be maximally efficient from this point on.
It starts to matter less about what you want to buy. What does that mean? I don't know. It could mean it could mean one of two things. So either he's saying that you have to get certain things, and it doesn't really matter what you want to get. You kind of have to get certain things in order to be effective. Or he's trying to say that everything in these tiers are so good, which makes a little bit more sense in terms of the context of what he said earlier. He's saying that everything in these tiers is so good that it kind of doesn't matter what you get; it's going to be decent. I disagree with that strongly. That last part makes more sense in terms of the context, but I disagree with that strongly. I'm not sure which one he's trying to say.
Alas, starting off with the mechs, in this Gearhub tier, we have access to...
Why are Stormrack's good? Same reason. Back damage. You can use the radius to deal back damage even when someone's facing toward you.
To Redeemer, Aegis, and Zephyr, and also Cheetah. Don't go for Cheetah. It's
correct.
Just not going to be a good spend of your coins,
Cheetah's terrible.
Frankly, and neither is Redeemer. Aegis and Zephyr, on the other hand, are actually like account-changing mechs when you first get them, at least.
Yep.
I mean, they start to drop off a little bit over time, of course. Most of these mechs are going to, but these suckers are going to last you quite a long time. Aegis is great because of its practically impenetrable shield. It's going to be your first big A-coin spend on your account once you arrive in Gearhub Tier 5. So make sure that you've got...
Yeah, some people... I feel like everybody pronounces it slightly differently. But no, he's right. Aegis and Zephyr are the two big ones that you want. Redeemer is one of the better ones at max level. But it's pretty darn useless at rank 4, I think. I think Redeemer at rank 4 specifically is actually pretty darn bad. Why are miniguns good? Did you forget Fusion Cannon was A tier? Oh yeah, you're right, my bad.
Like the 1800 A coins, whatever it is, required to buy the Aegis straight away.
Better than Ember Gun.
Arrive in this Gearhub tier, and the Zephyr's going to set you back 150,000 or so credits, and make sure that you're grabbing the Zephyr as well. And the Zephyr, by the way, is a fantastic mech to use with your Storm Racks if you grab those in Gearhub.
Oh, no. Zephyr should be for Revoker, not for Storm Rack. You're absolutely using it wrong. Zephyr is a free damage mech. You want to maximize the amount of free damage that you're capable of dealing. Revoker has stupid amounts of damage output. So by using it on Zephyr, you allow yourself 3 seconds of free damage. So you want to make sure that the most amount of damage, you can stack the most amount of damage possible within those 3 seconds. Stormrack is going to deal the same amount of damage on a Zephyr as it is going to do on a Lancer or an Aegis or a freaking Guardian. Like, it doesn't matter what you use Stormrack on, a full mag of Stormrack is going to be the same effectiveness. And yes, you can EMP someone and get some damage out with that, but if you're using it properly, then you can just use the radius to deal free damage, and you don't need the Zephyr ability to do that. You absolutely no. And I've seen this a lot too, actually, is not Stormrack specifically, but Missile Rack. A lot of people have been using Missile Racks on Zephyr. It's not a good idea. You want to maximize the amount of free damage potential that you have, and that's not going to be good. Stormrack Killshot, that can be decent, because Killshot can get in really quickly, and Stormrack unloads all of its damage in a matter of like 2 seconds. So Stormrack Killshot, yeah, you can make sure that you deal a bunch of damage all at once, and the fact that Killshot dies really quickly isn't really going to matter, because you're still going to get out pretty much all of your damage output anyway, most likely. But even still, it's not the best use of your Stormracks, right? Like, if you shouldn't use... Revoker and Stormrack both have really, really high kill potential. Same thing with, like, Podgun. So you probably don't want to use them on kamikaze mechs that are going to die really quickly, because that's a really solid weapon that you're wasting, that you're throwing into the void. If you're going to use a kill shot with a close quarters weapon, I'd just go for, like, Ember Gun or something, or maybe Missile Rack, to deal a similar deal with Stormrack. Like I said, it unloads all of its damage really quickly, so you're going to get out a full damage. You're going to get a full mag of Missile Rack, regardless of whether or not you die quickly, most likely. And so that's decent, but you definitely shouldn't use your best weapons on that. Not on a kamikaze playstyle.
Up tier 4 as well, so that's also pretty good. And as for your tier 5 weapons, your
Zephyr is weak for close combat. If you use it correctly, I mean, like, you have the EMP, that's the thing, though. Zephyr has the EMP for close quarters. If you specifically use it as a counter to certain things, you can't create... I think what people are like, you can't create a build that's good at everything. I think people are trying to create builds that can survive the entire match. Not all of your builds should do that. My Stormrack Lancer can survive the entire match, but you know what happens when I survive the entire match? I don't get any beacons. I'm sitting on top of a roof and I'm not getting beacons. It's the same thing with your Helix Racks on Stalker or whatever the heck it is that you're doing with these passive builds. You don't want to create a full hangar of mechs that can survive the entire battle. It's actually not beneficial to you. You want mechs that can perform certain functions that you need in order to win. And in order to win, you need to be able to counter certain things. Revoker Zephyr can counter certain things, Stormrack Zephyr cannot. Or at least no more than anything else with Stormrack. My Stormrack Lancer can do just as much as a Stormrack Zephyr could. Just as much. Probably more. Same thing with, like, Redeemer. Stormrack Redeemer could do just as much as a Zephyr. Possibly more. Because Zephyr gives you 3 seconds to deal as much free damage as you want. Using that with a weapon that could already deal free damage anyway, it's like using it with Podgun, dude. It has homing. There's no reason to have an ability that deals free damage, or that allows free damage, if your weapons allow free damage, if you use them correctly. So long as you're using the radius of Stormrack to get, like, people behind cover, to use the radius and kill people before they can even see you, you'll do a lot better. You'll do a lot better. And Revoker Zephyr specifically can counter most major problems that none of your other mechs can. And I mean, like, Nomad Nomad is one of those things that like literally nothing can deal with except for Zephyr, essentially. And if you don't happen to kill them with with a single mag of Stormrack, which is fairly likely, if you miss a couple shots or something, then you're cooked. There's no chance for you. For Revoker, the result of that is just that you might take a little bit of damage. You can still hit them, like you can continually hit them over and over and over again, even after they're done being EMP'd. When they're out of EMP, you have 3 seconds. Stormrack deals all of its damage in 2 seconds, so you don't actually need the full EMP duration anyway. Zephyr you can use with ability duration implant to actually make it even better with Revoker. But on top of that, if you don't happen to kill them while they're in EMP, then you can just shoot them a couple extra times, and maybe you die, but at least you guarantee that kill. Because especially something like Nomad, like Eclipse, you can deal with usually with like Stormracks easily enough. Surge, you're not going to want a Zephyr. You're going to want to kill that from distance, most likely. Pop Aegis, you could use Aegis if you know how to use Aegis correctly, then you could counter it with that. But like Nomad and Seeker are 2 major problems that none of your other mechs can really deal with very effectively.
Priority buys here are going to be pretty bloody expensive now, so if you were too impatient to buy the legendary Stormracks in Gearhub Tier 4, well, you're going to be mighty impatient in Gearhub Tier 5, because in Gearhub Tier 5, you probably want to stick around in Gearhub Tier 5 and pick up the good old disc launcher.
Don't you lose points if you're top of the losing side? No, I think you get 0 points. In terms of like season points, I assume is what you mean. I might be wrong about that. I don't know.
Launcher 8s are going to be very, very good. It's just the legendary Stormracks in Gearhub Tier 4. Well, you're going to be mighty impatient in Gearhub Tier 5, because in Gearhub Tier 5, you probably want to stick around in Gearhub Tier 5 and pick up the good old disc launcher 8s.
No.
Are going to be very, very good. It's just a long-range poke weapon able to just damage enemies around corners very, very effectively.
Pod gun is better in every single way. Pod gun 8 is better in every single way. It has better range, it has better damage, it has, I think, shorter reload time as well, it has better effective radius. Disc Launcher has damage radius fall off, and the radius can't deal back damage. And Pod gun has none of those things. Has better max range, infinite max range actually, and higher homing range. The only downside of Pod gun is that it has a 2-second damage delay. It's not even close. Like Pod gun versus Disc Launcher, it's not even close. Disc Launcher, I think is a. I don't think Disc Launcher is a factor anymore. Like, you probably should go the entirety of Tier 5 without buying Disc Launcher, period. Now, I'm going to get it at some point just to see how good it is, but guaranteed it's not a top weapon. Or guaranteed it's not one that you need, much less the first one that you should need. It's mag too small. Yeah, Disc Launcher, that's another issue with it too, is it has lower mag size.
Go down maps,
Makes
very,
it
very
worse
nice.
for
And also the Podgun 8s, which frankly, I prioritize the Podgun 8s over anything else ahead of the disc launchers. Get
okay,
these
there.
suckers
At least
as
he
soon as
said
possible.
it,
They are
but
incredible.
He did say it. So the way that he presented Disc Launcher made me think that he was saying Disc Launcher was better. He is saying Podgun is better. However, I still think Disc Launcher is a completely it's not a factor. It's not a factor in terms of anything. You don't need it. Probably you shouldn't buy it.
On your Aegis, and yeah, there's nothing much to say about these, men. Just a very, very, very good gun indeed, and basically all game modes, and you'll be using them for really quite some time. Other buys that you can also pick up in Gearhub Tier 5 in terms of guns. Overdriver, Fusion Cannon. You can grab the Fusion Cannon just because it's relatively cheap as like an epic gun for credits if you want to just grab the stars from that. For me,
if you want Gearhub tier stars, the most efficient way to get them is always to buy the most cost-effective way, I should say, to get them is always to buy the lowest tier thing possible. So, like, you'd buy the Fragment Gun 12, I think is credits, so which he does have. So you'd buy, like, Fragment Guns, because that costs, if you do the math, you can do the math at any time, right? You do the math, it costs less per tier star for a rare item than it does for, say, an epic item. Or especially a legendary item. Legendary costs the most per tier star, but sometimes they're just worth getting. So if you're going to do anything, probably get Fragment Gun. But just be like, careful with it, right? So, like, let's say you're 4 tier stars away. If he had, like, 26 tier stars for this, and you only needed 4 more to get to there, at that point, like, yeah, fragment gun would be cheaper, but you'd have to get something else anyway. Because this will only get you 3. You'd have to get 1 more from something. So at that point, probably it is a better idea to go for fusion cannon, right? Because that'll get you the full 4, and it won't cost you any A coins. It'll just cost you a slightly larger amount of credits per star. But yeah, Overdriver and Viper are both solid. I don't think you mentioned
I'd actually
Viper.
recommend, well, first of all, Fragment Gun 12 is kind of a no-brainer, but I'd actually recommend squiggling on all the way down towards your barrage weapons, and I buy the Nade Launcher 10s and the Cryo Launcher 10s, and I'd actually
I would not buy Nade Launcher 10. Nade Launcher 10 is 8 coins, and it's not really worth it.
just use these together on like one of your as soon as you get a mech that's got 20
Nade Launcher 10s is credits? No, I don't think so. Oh, actually, no, you're right. It's the reason I didn't get it is because the 6 is credits. Yeah, fair enough.
energy, these two go together like pretty decently. It also gives you the option of loading up your Cryo Launcher 6, which you might have bought earlier on.
Yeah, Cryo Launcher 6 and 10. That's a good point. I've seen, yeah, I think he's saying, yeah, Nade Launcher 10 and Cryo Launcher 10 for like the double 10 thing. I wouldn't really do that. I've seen some people do that. I wouldn't really do that. Maybe there's cause for it. Like between Nade Launcher 10 and Fusion Cannon 10, yeah, Nade Launcher 10's point better. So I guess if it comes between that, yeah, fair enough.
In the Gearhub and comboing them up with your Cryo Launcher 10s for a 16 energy loadout on those as well. And,
yeah, no, you're right. They're both credits. I was just thinking about the ones that I didn't buy on my free-to-play account. Because I'm like, I didn't buy Nade Launcher 10, and I must have not bought it because it was A coins. But no, the reason I didn't buy it is because I couldn't get the Nade Launcher 6 for A coins. So like, or I couldn't get the Nade Launcher 6 for credits, I should say. The 6 is A coins. So like I'd have, in order to make good use out of Nade Launcher 10, I'd have to rank it up twice to be able to use 2 of them. And that's the reason that I didn't get it. That's my bad. You think you did that to get to tier 6? Yeah, fair enough.
Actually, just a big fan of the Nade Launchers. What can I say, you know? But you don't have to buy the Nade Launcher 10s. It could be basically any of the... it could be the Quantum Gun 10s. You know, oh god. It could be the Quantum Gun 10s, you know? Whatever it takes to get those 4 stars to rank on up.
Out of all those
to
weapons,
Gearhub
Nade Launcher is the best one.
And so, with Aegis and with Zephyr and with the Pod Gun 8s and with the Disc Launcher 8s, Nade launchers, cryo launchers, and fragment guns, that actually gets you to a total of 29 stars total. So you actually need 1 more star. And a really, really good tip is...
I've bought all kinds of random stuff I've never used. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you will. If your goal is progression, yeah, you're going to buy a bunch of stuff that you don't use.
It's just to rank up your Aegis to 5 stars while you're in Gearhub tier 5. And that's just going to get you the 1 extra star of progress that you need to just nudge you up into tier 6.
I wouldn't do that, because here's the problem. You'll end up with a hangar that contains a rank 5 epic mech along with rank 3 rare mechs. Your only other epic mech is Zephyr, right? You're going to have one rank 5 epic, 1 rank 4 epic, and then the rest are going to be rank 3 rares. So the performance gap between those mechs is going to be so high that you're not realistically going to be able to win any battles if your Aegis happens to die. I probably would not rank up Aegis.
Tentatively,
not
you
that
could go
early.
ahead and just buy like...
You could do it, but I wouldn't do it that early, especially not before you have a full hanger of epics. Like if you had a full hanger of epic rank 4, then one rank 5 epic, yeah, that's going to be fine. You're not going to have an issue.
Another gun and get yourself there a little bit faster. I'll get you there that way instead. But yeah, if you want to be mega, mega efficient, just rank up the Aegis 1 time while you're in Gearhub tier 5. And that brings us to Gearhub tier 6, which I'm currently progressing towards right now on my own free-to-play account, and it's going great. Mechs you want to buy here, you're going to be here for a little while, progressing through Gearhub tier 6. They, of course, get progressively more and more expensive. This is another 30-star requirement tier to progress on up to Surge and Eclipse. We're so close and yet so far. The mechs you want to buy in this tier, Panther, incredible. Very, very good. Impenetrable wall shield, very, very nice. Killshot, optional, debatable. Most people end up getting Killshot either from a derby event or from actually just buying it and just getting their hands on it that way. It's pretty good when you first get it, but it does fall off pretty fast. Sentinel, you're going to be tempted to buy this. It does cost you credits. You can skip. It's a terrible mech. It's just very, very weak. Like, it's supposed to be the natural upgrade to Aegis, but its shield is like...
It's not. It's supposed to be a natural upgrade to Ares, but it's supposed to be on par with Aegis.
Absolutely pathetic. I mean, it says right there, shield durability 25,000, and it's only a frontal shield. Aegis's shield, 300,000 health on this sucker. And
It's not
a
even
dual
comparable.
shield, so protection from all
Sentinel
sides.
is
You know what I'm saying? Like, the
ridiculously
Aegis
bad.
is so much better than Sentinel. You could technically
That's
buy
right,
it to just get the stars to progress up a Gearhub level, but then why wouldn't you just buy an epic gun, which is a lot cheaper than buying an epic mech?
You're 100%
I
right
don't know,
about
man.
that. Yeah.
There's no case to be made there, really. The Orion is also very, very good indeed. I still use the Onion in certain game modes on my main Mech Arena account. You know, I feel like it holds up and is worth the spend. The A-coin spend, that is. As for priority guns to look out for in...
I would go for Orion first. Orion's 100% your top priority. Panther's decent, but you're probably not going to have any good 10 energy weapons to use on it. A lot of people end up using Nade 10 and Cryo 10. It's like scuffed as hell build. It doesn't even work that well. It can be okay, but it doesn't work that well, so it's not really worth getting. But it's a good reason to... You should probably get Railgun while you're in Tier 5, even though it won't do you much good while you're there. But Railgun on something, I don't know, you could use on Guardian, right? It's not bad. At least until you get to Tier 6. Once you get to Tier 6, you want to get Orion, and then putting Railguns on Orion, disgusting. Extremely effective. Disc launchers, like, yeah, you shouldn't get it. You could get, like, Overdriver or Viper, I guess. You should probably have Revoker 6 from Tier 4 so that you can use that on Zephyr when you do get it. And then for Tier 6, what else did he say for Max? Yeah, Panther. Yeah. Killshot, yeah, Killshot's an optional one. Sentinel, you probably shouldn't buy.
The weapons in Gearhub Tier 6. No surprises here. This is where you're going to be cashing in on Where the Hell Is It Man. The Revoker 10s are going to be a great buy here, and you can really start thinking about getting Revokers now, because you could technically start using Revokers on your Zephyr, and you're also getting rather close now to having Surge on...
See, this is the thing. Now he's saying go get Revoker 10, but you don't have Revoker 6 if you did the thing. Pods Dominate Disc, yeah, you're right. You don't have Revoker 6 if you're going by the priorities that he's listing here. So at this point, if you want a Revoker Zephyr, which is, I agree, is a good thing to use, but now he's saying, okay, now you go invest in Revoker 10, but you don't have Revoker 6, so now you have to go now you have to go back and buy Revoker 6, which you could have bought earlier, but you didn't because you went for quick progression. Quick progression, just to then turn around and buy something from back that tier anyway, when it's not going to help you progress later on, is inefficient. It's just straight up inefficient. You should have gotten Revoker 6 in Tier 4 when you were there. You should have. Same thing with Stormrack, but I think he did say to get Stormrack 6? Yeah, he did.
And or Eclipse on your account as soon as you progress into the next Gearhub tier. As soon as you progress into the Tier 7, you know what I'm saying? So now you can start thinking about buying the Revokers, as well as the Stormrack 10s, which... Dude, I always scroll away from the Stormrack 10s for some reason. What the hell is wrong with me? There they are. Use the Stormrack 10s, of course, in unison with the Stormrack 6s on some 16 energy loadout mechs like the...
Yeah, I would prioritize Stormrack over Revoker. And even if you have Revoker 6 on a Zephyr, double Revoker 6, I'm not even going to lie, works perfectly fine. You don't even need 16. You don't even need a 10 and 6. Like, double Revoker 6 is adequate. Like, it's stupid damage output. You're not going to notice a huge difference. So definitely would get Stormrack first. But
the Zephyr and stuff like that. And same thing with the Revokers. You can also start to think about potentially going back for the Revoker 6s at this point if you didn't buy them by now. Because again, you're going to be in this Gearhub tier grinding for a little while anyway.
You're going to be there for a lot longer if you're buying stuff in tiers that aren't going to help you progress.
Especially because you're going to save up like 8,000 A coins anyway to buy Surge or Eclipse when you get to Gearhub 7 anyway. So you're in like no crazy rush to get through Gearhub tier 6.
That is true. Because Gearhub tier 7 is only relevant because you can then buy Surge and Eclipse. But you can only buy them if you have the A coins, so there's not really any reason to get to tier 7 if you don't have the A coins to buy Surge or Eclipse. Like, there's no rush to get to tier 7. There's nothing in tier 7 that you need in terms of weapons. So, yeah, until you save up those A coins, it's not really much of an issue. You could go back and buy Revoker 6 at that point if you wanted to. But it's still more efficient to just buy it from from the start, to be
in
honest.
my book, anyways. Graviton Beam 10 is also purchasable with credits, so you might as well get it here while you can. It's a pretty decent weapon. And then besides that, to nudge your way up into tier 7, you think of the options of either going in for the Overdriver 10, which is a fine gun. Again, I think at the time that you get it, it's going to be fine, but it's not going to be able to compete really once you've got like multiple Revoker loadouts on your account. I feel like it's going to drop off a little bit on more.
Overdriver... No, I mean, like, Overdriver is like a high A weapon. Probably not. Well, yeah, maybe like low S tier. High A tier, low S tier. Like, it is usable competitively, and I've seen people use it competitively. It's not going to outperform Stormwrecker or Revoker, obviously. Same thing with Minigun. Like, Minigun's not going to outperform Stormwrecker or Revoker, but you definitely could use it, and it's extremely solid. And I don't really know what else you'd use at this point, because you're not gonna use multiple Revoker builds for a while. You still have to get Revoker 12, which costs an arm and a leg. So, like, you know, at this point, what else are you using? You got one Stormwreck build, one Revoker build. You got 3 more builds to fill up. Pod gun on one of them, that's a solid one. But then you still got 2 more that you need to deal with. And I think Overdriver's a solid pick for that.
Most mechs that like using overdrivers, they kind
Orion is one of the couple mechs that can counter Seeker. Yeah, it can. You just gotta walk backwards, and then when they teleport in front of you, you put you fire your mark at them so that they can't turn around, and then you just shoot them in the back a couple times, and they're probably dead.
of would just prefer to have
Carbine's
Revokers.
good, no.
Not all of them, but most. Voltaic RPG 14 is also going to be accessible, I believe, for credits as well, and it's going to be an easy way to get some more points towards Gearhub Tier 7. Now, when it comes to Tier 7 itself, I mean, it goes without saying, honestly, like, all of the other mechs here are just we're just going to stop the Gearhub guide here, because at this point, get Surge and Eclipse as quickly as you possibly can. If I had to pick between the two, by the way, progressing through the Gearhub, the way I'm going to do it on my free-to-play account is I'm going to get Surge first. I just feel like Surge is a joke. Like, I understand how bloody good Eclipse is, don't get me wrong, man, but Surge's ability to just shut...
I think, especially for people who just bought it and they don't have mods or anything like that, Surge is going to be better because it's just free damage. It's the same thing with Zephyr. Like, the reason Surge is good is the exact same reason that Zephyr is a good for mech for Revoker. The EMP status effect gives you free damage. That's it. Like, Surge doesn't really have anything else going for it. The stealth is, yeah, that's nice. The dash is, yeah, that's nice. But it's mostly the EMP. Free damage. And then you can stack a stupid... And if you use Revoker, it's a guaranteed kill on basically anything. So, yeah, I would say that Surge is probably the first one to get, though technically Eclipse is more meta, like late game. Max competitive, whatever. Eclipse is technically more meta than Surge is. But I feel like when you get it, it doesn't, like, that's not really the case. Surge is probably better because it's free damage. Eclipse just keeps people from getting free damage. Surge was who kept killing me the most. Eclipse is best mech. Eclipse is the best mech, yeah. No, I agree.
Down basically anything and snowball complete out of control in the likes of like free-for-all matches and stuff. I just feel like Surge is just a complete joke. It's a ridiculously good mech. Eclipse, of course, is also just one of the best mechs in the game as well, and so this is where you are going to be dumping all of those air coins that you've been very, very diligently saving up all of this time as you progress through these Gearhub tiers, while splurging a little bit here and there where you have to for stuff like Aegis and maybe Stalker and stuff like that a bit earlier on, because you do want to have fun as you're upgrading your Gearhub as well. I will mention that Brick House, while you do get it for free with my beginner promo link, it's incredible. On a brand new Mech Arena account, by the time you get to Gearhub Tier 7, Brickhouse might not even feature in your hangar anymore. Incredible in the early game, just for the raw stats, and for like the high energy cap and stuff like that. That's all great. It's going to fall off real fast, and I wouldn't bother buying this thing once you get to Gearhub Tier 7. In Tier 7, you'll also get...
You might buy Brickhouse just for the sake, just for the fact that it's credits. And the fact that there's almost no legendary 12 energy weapons that are credits. So, like, otherwise you just buy... Like, what else is there that's even credits in Tier 7? Helix Rack, Stasis Beam, Voltaic RPG, maybe? Or a Fusion Cannon, I think. Not much. There's not a lot. Surge is easier to use, that's true. Well, also, it's easier to get better, like, higher value out of Surge. Eclipse is more valuable when you're fighting other meta people. But if you're just playing solo and you're just playing, up against typical, just like random matches, if you're just playing random matchups, as long as you're not playing high-end meta custom matches, Surge is going to do better against the majority of mechs. But against, like, specifically, like, super meta people, Eclipse will probably be better. And I think that's kind of the difference there.
Access to the Stormrack 12s. You get access to the miniguns, which are just a little bit further on down as well. Actually, they're all the way down to the bottom right. Minigun 12 in this tier. And these are suckers that are going to set you back A coins because, I mean, you're batting in the big leagues by the time you're in Gearhub tier 7, right? These are just guns that are just very, very good once they're fully upgraded, like up to 6 stars, so you can like dual wield a couple of miniguns. And in
I agree with that, although Overdriver 10 is Overdrivers are almost just as good as minigun, and because Overdriver 10 costs credits, you may as well just get and duplicate Overdriver 10 and use those instead. Yeah, it's not 24 energy, and it's not going to fit on a maxed Surge or a maxed Eclipse. Well, you wouldn't use it on Surge, but you might use it on Eclipse. It's not going to fit on like a maxed Eclipse, but it's like, who cares? It doesn't really matter. Miniguns, I think they cost too much. I love minigun, and I do think it's the better weapon between the two, but it's not meta to the point that you really need to be spending that many A coins on it. I think you probably shouldn't bother getting minigun. If you're going to spend that many A coins, get Revoker 12 or Stormrack 12. And then the same thing with the 16s. You just get Stormrack 16, that's credits. Stormrack 16's credits. And then the Revoker 16, which is more A coins. But you may as well get Revoker 16 as opposed to, Minigun 12, even though I like minigun again. I like it, but it's not worth getting realistically. Overdrivers are kind of hard to aim because they bend a little bit. It's a bit of a learning curve, yeah. They're a bit more difficult to aim, but I think in terms of average performance, their DPS is similar, and their general performance is similar, and they work rather similarly on the same mechs. So at that point, just because the Overdriver is so much cheaper, I feel like you may as well just go for that as opposed to minigun. Because minigun, it's kind of like a Viper versus Overdriver in tier 5, right? Where it's like, yeah, you could buy Overdriver, but it's like 1,000,000 credits to get something that's like only a small bit better than Viper. In this case, it's like 7,500 A coins to get something that's only a little bit better than Overdriver. I don't think it's really worth it.
In general, they're just going to be pretty good, like sound long-term investments for you on your account. But like I mentioned all the way back in Gearhub tier 5, the further into the Gearhub tiers you go, it more comes down to, honestly, I would argue, personal preference. Things get so bloody expensive that, look, man, I think that you're just better off watching some YouTube guide reviews and stuff of various guns in Gearhub tier 6 and 7 if you can't quite make your mind up as to what legendary you want to pull the trigger on in terms of spending your A coins.
I do agree with that. I do agree that if there's something that you're thinking of getting, you should definitely like watch some videos of it. Preferably someone like, even though I don't agree with Cobb on a number of things, and there's certain things where it's like he thinks certain things are. He was glazing particle beam in one of his videos too. Like he got like particle beam 6. I don't think it's good. I don't think particle beam is worth getting, but it's still better to watch a video like that than it is to watch like, I don't know, let's say a Mayor video. Not throwing shade toward Mayor or Omniverse or anything like that, but it's the simple fact that they're not sharing their opinions in the video. You don't know what they think about it because the only thing that you know is how it does in that specific video and whatever it is that they say in the description, because they don't have a voiceover or anything for their videos, right? So, I mean, Mayor and Omniverse, they probably both agree particle beam's a really bad weapon, but if they made a video on particle beam specifically, they would do their best to make sure that they included the best clips that they have. So they'd make sure that the gameplay is the best that they have. So you're gonna get something that looks like it's good, but it's not actually gonna be good. And if they're not legitimately there telling you like, yeah, this thing is kind of crap, then you may or may not be misled into thinking that it's actually a good thing to get. So like if it's just for raw entertainment, yeah, watch whoever. But I think if you're looking to make a decision on what to buy, I would go specifically for somebody who actually has a voiceover of some kind and is giving some type of like honest review type video. So that's that. But I kind of disagree that it's mostly preference. I don't think it is. I think the further you go, the more expensive things get, and so the less preference that you can afford to have. If you want to make a good hanger, if you're just there to have fun, just buy whatever. But if you want a good hanger, like certain things are meta and certain things aren't, first off. But then on top of that, it's like something like minigun. Like I said, it's like it costs 7,500 A coins. That's a lot of A coins to spend on something that's only a small bit better than Overdriver. And so every investment that you make gets progressively more important. And so I think you should be progressively more careful and not progressively less careful.
Because by the time you get to Gearhub tier 6 and 7, things are getting so grindy that just enjoying the game and enjoying the loadouts that you're playing becomes more important than like efficiently trying to get up to Gearhub tier 8 or something, like who cares at that point, man? Just enjoy the game.
Yeah. If you're not having fun while you're playing it. But getting to tier 8, I think, is a good idea because you get to Stormrack 16, which is credits. You get to Hemlock, which is credits. You get to Nomad, which is A coins. All three of those very, very strong. So if you want like a competitive hanger, yeah, I think you need to go a step further than tier 7. Tier 7 is mostly where people are aiming for because it's the start of the really expensive legendary stuff. But tier 8 is probably where you want to stop.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all did enjoy this one, man. If you disagree with any of my picks, and I'm sure that you do, please do go ahead and let me know what you would pick.
Well, anyway, that was interesting. Not bad. Not bad. I agreed with most of it. There's certain things that I definitely didn't agree with, but I agreed with most of it. If you just got here, if you want to watch it yourself, Cops videos in the pinned message. I'll probably leave it here. Some guy said that he left for 6 hours and I'm still going, and he's absolutely right. I've been going for 7 hours, dude.